Hey everyone, how you guys doing? I'm kind of late today getting this up. It's been a busy day. I had to run into town to go get, this isn't from the surgery. This is actually technology called a reflector. And what I like about it is, if you haven't heard of it, it actually makes a sound. So when they go in to do the surgery and they can isolate the location, and it helps to preserve as much of the breast as possible. And because it makes a sound, it emits a sound. I actually heard it when they were placing it today and they were testing it. So that's pretty cool. Although now everything's really gotten real, because up until this point it's just been a lot of talk and wondering, just always in your mind. But now things are starting to roll. So tomorrow is the day I go in. I have to be there by 12:30 Mountain Time. So, because it's an afternoon surgery. So anyway, but I wanted to just say hi and guess share with you what else I've been trying to work on today, which is because this, and for that matter, even the placement of this reflector, and I believe I've mentioned it, but if I hadn't, please forgive me. It's one of the questions that consistently comes up is about the use of blood thinning products like ibuprofen. I don't think Tylenol is in that, but just taking blood thinners for that matter, or consuming. I think they talk about fish oils. There's a few things that they had mentioned, but when I brought up essential oils, it was for several of the doctors. It was like, that's nothing. Now my oncologist, for tomorrow, she recognized in fact, her compliment was great. And I got to say it again. If I haven't said it already, then you're going to hear it now. If I had not said it, then whether or not I have said it, I'm going to say it again. It's because it's cool. I mean, her statement to my primary care physician was that I was highly educated. Because we sat there just girl to girl and had a long conversation that day I met her, and talking about what it is I do, and really just put things in perspective for her, because she, like most people, recognize oils as palliative. In fact, her nurse practitioner said, well, you could bring in information and share with our patients about what oils are calming. And it's like, it's not about calming. In fact, some of the calming ones you wouldn't even want to use anyway, because you can't mix it with medication. So my surgeon and I got to talking, and that was her statement. It was like, I was highly educated in this arena, and she wants me to come back in and talk to her team. So in the meantime, I am putting together just a little rack card kind of thing, which gives, number one, a list of essential oils with blood thinning properties, which you can't use them before any surgery, not just breast surgery, any surgery, because they do have blood thinning qualities. And the other one is going to be on, actually, I think I mentioned it yesterday. It's the serum that I just recently developed for radiation therapy. So I'm going to provide a list of materials, and if people don't want to go around finding the materials for themselves, I can certainly help them, and just packaging something up right away. But that's really cool. But then in the meantime, I'm going to talk to my oncologist about, well, like I talked about in my video the other day, regarding DNA damage, and how this is every single one of us is dealing with DNA damage, and putting it in perspective in the way oils can assist with that, with or without medication. So that's what I've been doing. But in the meantime, I've been putting this list of oils together with blood thinning properties, and then came across this whole thing on peppermint that I've talked about peppermint in the past. But it's become serious, especially since this is really the season of menthol. Peppermint actually has, especially in large doses of menthol. So it's not peppermint oil per se. You don't want to be, actually, peppermint essential oil can actually exaggerate and even trigger indigestion because of its effects on the stomach. So ingesting peppermint is not wise for those of you who are have been told otherwise. It's not a good idea. It actually blocks calcium in the heart muscle, which is important to allow calcium in there. So there's a lot of issues around peppermint and menthol specifically, including wintergreen. So I'm actually writing a piece on that as well. Because, again, although we recognize them as generally regarded as safe, the potential for damage is huge, especially since menthol also has the ability to increase tissue permeability of the lungs. So when you consider that alone, and the fact that we are breathing chemicals all over the place and people are just smearing menthol on all this mentholatum, it's just not that you're doing anything wrong if that is you. I totally get the respiratory relief that it provides, but it's just something to be aware of. So that's what I've been occupying my mind with today, because if I don't, then, like I said, things get real. Like I was laying on there today and I was just sitting there. Actually, I pulled out my emerald tablet and was reading, through the principles again, which are significant in all of this. Very significant, because it really just magnifies the potential that really lies within each one of us. So I got through the principle of mentalism, principle of correspondence, which is as above, so below, as below, so above. Whatever you see out here is what's going on in here. Whatever's going on here is going to be reflected out there. That's the, so when we recognize that this exterior world is a reflection of what's going on inside of us, and what's, and how we feel on the inside is how we're going to perceive the world. Huge difference. So that's part of the reason why I'm trying to be upbeat about this whole cancer thing. And at the same time, I'm human, I don't mean to make that an excuse, but there's emotions around this. And so just, allowing them to filter through me, understanding where they may or may not be coming from, and then letting them go, transmuting them, and shifting them into something that's a little bit more beneficial, if you will, because then the next principle is the principle of vibration, and everything is is energy. Everything has a vibratory factor to it. High vibrational things, they're light. There's a lightness to it. When they're low vibrational, there's a density to it, and they almost basically, if you look at the molecules involved in low vibe energy, they basically look like they're not moving, and we can see that in life, right? So when we're talking about our vibe, or for that matter, when we're talking about as below, so above, when we experience our world or our life as being stagnant, what inside of us is stagnated? That would be the law. That would be the principle of vibration. This is where, the practice of Kundalini, right? Kundalini yoga is great. Dance, movement. I mean, this is what makes it all, because it moves that stagnant energy, and it actually helps to upgrade us. And so that's another reason why I like to be active. And so there was that. And then the other principle I got to before I got called back was the principle of polarity, which is essentially everything exists in the same space. Now keep in mind, this all goes back to, mentalism, because everything really just exists in the mind. So when you have love and hate, there's varying degrees. It's not all love and it's not all hate. There's varying degrees. And so on that scale, that you can go from the same thing with truth. I mean, there's varying degrees of truth, and every truth there's a lie, because it's a perception. It's an interpretation of what may or may not have happened. So really just not attaching ourselves to any one thing, and just being aware of where can we uplift ourselves, where can we take this experience that we're going through and allow it to source us. And trust me, I have experiences right now. I have evidence all around me to show where I have been stuck, stagnant, empty. Yeah, it's been frustrating. I'm not going to say that I'm happy. I don't want time to fly. certainly not ready to leave the planet yet, but I don't want time to fly either. So I am observing people talking about, oh, the end of a decade, the end of a year. We get all excited about a new year, new start. Every day is a new day. Every day is a new year. It's a new opportunity. But I can say that if we were going to just look at the cumulative experience of 2019, it's brought me to my knees. I've literally had, quite the bankrupt experience. And so being diagnosed with 2 different types of cancers at this point really has me looking at a lot of things as far as where I haven't been loving myself. And I know I've talked about this before, but I'm not doing it from an emotional perspective. I'm really just doing it from a heartfelt, like, how can I love myself through this? How can I love myself into a higher vibration so that I don't continue to feel or have my existence look empty, if that makes any sense. So, and in many respects, going through this tomorrow, it's purging me of toxic beliefs. Yes, toxic environment too. The damage that was done through an toxic environment. I mean, there's no one blame, truthfully. There's nothing to blame. It's just simply the world that we live in, sadly. And we do have the potential to regenerate, and we have the potential to generate an entirely different world, but we've got to be doing it from the space of love, not from emptiness, not from desperation, but from inspiration. That's we've heard that before, but it's getting real now for, I think, a lot of people. And having faith, above all, having faith that, we can get through this, we can heal physically, mentally, emotionally, globally. So anyway, that's where I am in today. And I will, I don't know when I'm going to do a video. I mean, it'll be sometime tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to get one before or after I go into surgery, probably after, so I can kind of share a little bit with you about that. And in the meantime, stay well, stay warm, or stay cool wherever you are in this world. And I love you, and I will be back tomorrow.